Hello everyone and welcome to another Tribe tutorial. We're here this afternoon in Watamu Beach and we're going to go through a deep water pack down. This is also referred to as a self-rescue and teaches you how to pack the kite away in the water if something goes wrong or if you're being rescued by a boat. See you in the video. So with a deep water pack down, the reason you would ever find yourself in a situation where you need to do this is, well, for example, if you're out at sea and the wind died and you just can't get the kite in the sky, you've crashed the kite and you can't relaunch it. Or finally, if you're being rescued by a boat, regardless of the size of your boat, you do need to be able to pack the kite away in the water to fit it in your boat. So what we're going to do quickly first of all is just recap on the safety systems because that's what we're going to activate in order to get this to work. So first of all, let go of your bar and then release your chicken leap release. As you can see, the kite falls out of the sky and down into the water. So at this point, let's just understand why we are safe now. The reason is that all the tension is loaded onto one line of the kite. And the one thing that you have to remember, regardless of whatever you take away from this exercise, is that needs to stay the same. That tension needs to stay on that one line of the kite, so the kite can't get any structure and get power and take off. And let's think about it, we really only need 2 points of connection to the kite for it to have some form of structure. Yes, maybe it won't fly as efficiently as a kite when you're kiting, but have enough power to drag you around, which is what you don't need. So first of all, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna hand over hand, work my way back towards the bar. So as I do that, I'm swimming through the water, and this is why it's important to wear a life jacket, because even as the best kite surfer, you can get yourself in this situation and you'll be treading water. It does get quite tiring. So, you know, it is always recommended, although I'm not wearing one myself today, to wear a life jacket as a kiter. Now when I get to the bar, what I want to be careful of not doing is grabbing this line, this chicken leap release system and then letting go of the line that I've just swum up along. Because what happens there is this slides very quickly through the release system and all of a sudden the lines start to get tension again, and now I'm dealing with a powered kite. So really be careful to make sure you don't do that when you get to the bar. What we are going to do when we get to the bar, as I quickly release that again, is we're going to fold that line back up on itself so it locks off against the chicken leap. I'm going to hold it tight towards the chicken leap release mechanism to ensure that line doesn't slip through and that we're remaining tension on this one, it's difficult to see, but this one line connected to the front of the kite. And the first thing I'm going to do when I get there, once I've secured that, is I'm going to tie this line off onto the bar. Now the rule of thumb here is if you can't tie knots, you tie lots. And we're going to do I'm going to do a figure of 8 on the line and pass it over the top and pull it tight because I know what I'm doing here. But really all that you need to do to make sure that's secure is just wrap it round the end of the bar. Now years of practice of teaching this has allowed me to do it by making it a bit easier to see, but I can imagine on your first go it won't look as neat and tidy as I'll hopefully pull it off today. So there we go. I'm nice and safe because that line is now secured around the end of the bar. And what we're talking about here is our leash line. What I do have in the water here is a whole bundle of line that's wrapped around my legs and getting in the way, and you do need to make sure you're keeping clear of this. So in order to get rid of that, what I'm going to do here, before I start wrapping up the rest of the lines, is just tuck this up behind the back of the bar. And this actually comes in handy when you're unpacking this deep water pack down and not getting your lines in a tangle and a mess later on, is that if you do this at the back, there's a little bit of a system and a formula to unraveling it all, and that way you can get yourself back on the water quicker. Just going to utilize the bungees built into the end of this bar to hold that in place. That's all that's required. And so as you can see now, my leash line here is just an extension to the bar where I've secured that line to the bar. Next then is wrapping up the rest of the bar, and what I want to do here is make sure that I get the rest of the remaining 4 lines. So I've got 1 outside line here, 2 center lines in the middle, and an additional outside line here. So there we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and make sure you count those 4 lines to make sure you've got all 4 of them. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there, just to make sure I'm wrapping up the whole bar and lines to ensure that I'm not making any lines the same length as each other. We're keeping everything nice and secure, nice and loaded onto that one individual leash line to make sure that these lines are keeping that kite dead in the water. So I'm just actually pulling the kite towards me here rather than swimming towards it, just for the purpose of production. And we're gonna get this wrapped up as quickly as possible. You can actually use this as a bit of a lever in the water to pull yourself through, but you're getting a bit further with it now. And we're going to wrap our way all the way up towards the kite, where we're going to do our next bit. So as I get towards the kite, you can see I'm nice and close here. I do need to now secure the rest of the lines around the bar. Like, I want to tie this all off. But what I don't want to do is sort of start, what ideally you want to do, for those of you who know knots, we want to do a half hitch here. But although that's not, one of the reasons I did this today is so I could demonstrate this stuff to you, where the wind's a bit lighter, I don't want to wrap this around my fingers in strong wind, because it's going to pull and hurt my fingers, or potentially even injure myself. So what's important at this stage is, as I come towards the kite, I actually want to pull myself over to the kite to take the load off the lines. And at this stage now, once that load's taken off the lines, I can actually use the kite to support my weight in the water. I can just do a nice simple half hitch. I'll do my best to demonstrate this on camera, but it's a twist in the lines and over the top and pull that nice and tight. And again, I'll do a couple of those just to make sure. And remember that famous rule, if you can't tie knots, tie lots. So now I'm nice and safe. What you can see here is that this one front line of the kite, or the bridle line of the kite, is considerably shorter than the rest of this bridle line connects to the rest of the kite. And my bar and lines are literally just an extension to my leash to that connection point in the water. And this is your goal. The main thing that you need to achieve to make sure the kite doesn't have any power when you're packing it away is the load stays on that one individual line in the water. So now that my lines are packed up, I can start working with my kite. And first things first is I need to get the kite flipped over in the water. Now, as I'm standing here, that's quite simple. I can pick it up because I can support myself on the ground. But if you're out of your depth, one of the difficult things to do is actually physically lift this thing above your head. But luckily, there's a nice little trick that you can use. And what we do is we come to the wingtip of the kite and we actually physically push it under the water to allow the wind to get in and under the leading edge of the kite, and actually let the wind do the work for you so the kite flips itself over onto its back. And it's from here that I have a few little solutions to my problems, the problem that I'm in. I can actually ride the kite back to the beach, so I can sit in it and swim. It's a nice buoyancy aid as such to help me back to land. I can even go as far as actually flying the kite. So let's say you've had an issue where you've had a snapped line. I can go as far as even flying the kite by holding, let me show you quickly. I come over here, grab this bridle over here, pull it towards me, nice and aggressively here. And I can actually fly my kite to some extent just by holding on to the front bridle lines. Obviously in this direction it's taking me out to sea, but if I can steer it up and over my head, it can take me back towards the beach. And you can even just body drag using the kite, even in the lightest of wind like we're working with today, to bring ourselves back to the beach, or in this case obviously I'm going out to sea. And if anything goes wrong, because I've got everything secured in the right place, I can just let go and the kite dies instantly and I'm nice and safe. Now, the last situation you might find yourself in, or the reason why you might find yourself having to do a deep water pack down, is if you're being rescued by a boat. And even a large boat would struggle to fit this on board. So in order to make sure that you can do that, you do need to pack the kite away in the water. Now we do want to try and ensure we maintain some form of buoyancy as we do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to secure our middle strut. And again, I'm just going to flip this kite over, and I'm going to utilize the fact that I can stand to do that quickly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the center of the kite here. And I come to the center of the kite here, and I'm going to make sure that my center strut has got its clip done up, that you will have seen from the setup video. I'm going to reach in here, I'm going to pull the deflate valve out, and actually deflate my leading edge in the water. I'm going to try and keep that valve up and above the water so we don't get water inside our kite, squeezing all the air, as much of the air out, bringing everything into the middle. You can see the center strut has remained inflated. I'll show you that again. There's a little clip here on this center strut to ensure that that happens, so make sure that's nice and secure, because they can come off while flying. And I'm just going to squeeze all the air out of the kite here for you, nice and quickly. What I'm trying to do here is I do want to put the deflate valve back into the kite if I can to stop water going inside. So just trying to get as much of the air out of the kite as possible. There we go. And what I want to do here is I'm going to come to the end that the kite's attached to, and we're just going to roll the kite up. So are we in the right place? We are in the right place. It's going to come to this wingtip here, pop the bar and lines into the kite, collect any excess line here, and then start rolling the kite up along the leading edge, like so. Roll, 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 roll. All the way up, all the way up towards the center of the kite, and then reach the other side and just roll this backwards towards me, all the way, back towards the center, where I can reach in or just squeeze out any remaining air, like so. Make sure that deflate valve goes back in so you don't get any water inside the kite. And from this point, what you can do here is you can actually take your harness off, so I'm going to do quickly now, and use your harness to secure the kite together into a nice little package. So I'll do that here like so. And when you're climbing into a boat, it's actually very difficult to climb into a boat with the harness on, so it gets the harness out of the way for that purpose. When you're passing this kite to a boat to be collected, the important thing to make sure you do is you pass it up leading edge first. It is quite heavy, it has got quite a bit of water in it, but if you lift it up leading edge first, what happens is all the water drains out the bottom and it makes it easier to manage it on the boat. So there you have it, your deep water pack down. It's something that none of us ever want to do, but it's always worthwhile having a look at a video like this to see all the little bits and tips and pieces that are useful to do. And if you do ever find yourself on a day like today, when you get down to the beach and the wind's a bit light, get out in the water, have a go at playing with your safety systems and give this a go. Have a little play in circumstances that are manageable rather than having to do it for the first time for real. If you'd enjoyed this video, please leave a question in the comments below. If we can be of any assistance, we'll get back to those. Give us a thumbs up, like, and click that notification bell if you'd like to see more videos like this in the future. Really thank you for coming to check out the video today, and hopefully see you in the next one. Cheers!